So James has been up on top of a mountain along with Michael, who's here somewhere as well, totally cut off from civilization. He's had really fast internet, which is the only place in Davos or in this whole area that's had fast internet. We spent a lot of money on internet there, but he has been a trooper dealing with everything you can imagine coming up. So thank you, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
No problem.
So. And Michael, too. Let's give Michael a round of applause wherever, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so every team has 5 to 7 minutes to present, and then questions from the judges. And we're trying to keep everyone, streamlined. So put your presentations, give them to the AV guy back there. We're going to start with BuildCoin with Ivan. Yeah.
So whenever Yvonne's ready, I'll give that to him. And there's lots of people filming in Yvonne, so if it's just about the camera, then let's just get you up here, please. And we have to keep moving because there's a whole lot of public that shows up here at 6 o'clock. So if you want to get up on the stage so we can see you, and let's give Yvonne a round of applause, and let's get going.
Is this working? Yes. Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Ivan Shumkov. I'm CEO and founder of Build Academy, based in New York, which is a platform for solutions in the building industry. We work with real estate companies, governments, and NGOs to solve some of the most pressing problems related to the built environment. And the projects that I would present to you today are Building Passport, or Build Pass, and our soon-to-be-launched BuildCoin, which will enable us to make our cities and environment more sustainable. You may all live in wonderful cities like the ones that we are visiting right now. However, 90% of the world lives in substandard conditions, and oftentimes this can cost their lives, particularly in moments of natural disasters like the ones that are happening over and over every year due to climate change and other conditions on our planet. Thousands of people every day are forced to leave their homes. So somehow we need to find ways to rebuild, and somehow we need to find ways to give them safe and livable shelter. So what we are working on currently is a project with the World Bank, which is for the reconstruction of the Caribbean after the recent Typhoon Irma, which you have heard about just 4 months ago. And so what's happening there, just like in many areas which are working in rebuilding after natural disasters, is basically a lot of the money that's being invested is lost along the way because there is no accountability, there is no way to check the status of that work. And we think that with the use of blockchain and with the use of cryptocurrency, we will be able to solve that problem. So the SDG which we are focusing on today is SDG 11, about sustainable and resilient cities, which you may know. And interestingly, if you read the description, a lot of these are things that we can actually solve. These are not like some goals that are totally impossible. These are goals that are absolutely tangible. And the state of the world we live in, sustainability is not anymore the question, not just sustainability. The question is now about mitigation, and it's about resilience. Climate change cannot be stopped. However, the effect of climate change can be mitigated so people can have a better transition. Over the next 50 years, more than 1 billion people are expected to lose their homes because they'll be forced out of their city because of natural disaster or because of the rising oceans that are happening right now. So our mission with BuildPass, the Building Passport, is to create a decentralized ecosystem for data and innovative solutions in the building industry. Our mission is to empower professionals, citizens, and governments to build better. You may know how the building industry works. It's a really complex process. Okay, some of you who have ever dealt with building something on a smaller scale have witnessed the complexity and the inefficiency of the industry. But if you look at effectively what's going on, and I've been in this industry for the past 15 years, through my studies and my work in teaching in different universities, if you really would look at what's happening in industry, it looks like this. Okay, this is the complexity, and these are all the different companies. In every project, there are at least 100 of companies in the smallest one that are involved, and there are thousands of products that are put into every building. Okay, so it's extremely complex thing to build. Okay, and interestingly enough, it's one of the largest industry, I believe actually the largest, with $14 trillion revenue and 4% growth, of which a lot is wasted because of inefficiency and improper use of materials and resources. So what we are doing with Building Passport is, in fact, to solve this problem, and with our digital currency, is to solve this problem by streamlining the process in which the work is done and the materials are applied into the industry. Oftentimes, if the donors, which usually for projects are either NGOs or governments or investors for a real estate project, if they give the money directly to people in disaster areas, they don't use them for rebuilding. They use them for other things, or they keep them, or they use them for something, but not thinking long-term and not thinking about how to create a better shelter for their families. And that is why international organizations like the ones that we're working with, the World Bank and the United Nations, are looking for better ways to do development work and to aid people in need. So because of that, we are actually changing this process, and we are adding multiple other players. So basically the process has to go through developer, designer, engineer, contractor, and all of this is controlled by smart contracts. All right, so here is the deal, all right, and here is how we imagine the blockchain application. We actually are thinking about creating two tokens, all right, one that can be exchanged directly for fiat currencies, and the other one which would be used for interaction and for delivery of products and services within our industry. So essentially, if an investor gives money to Build Token, our company, we turn them into tokens. These tokens are given, part of it is given to the supplier with a smart contract. The supplier does the work, the contractor. When the owner, who is finally going to use the project, approves this project, then they give the permission for the rest of the money to be released. So we are thinking of creating a central counterparty, which basically serves for all these operations. And the interesting part, it happens not just how the money is transferred and the accountability that this creates, but it's interesting also the data that we extract for all these operations. So essentially every single transfer of value within the industry is tracked through the tokens which are exchanged between different players of the industry and stored on the blockchain in our company called BuildPass. So what are the advantages of this token? You know, it could be used for building the community, it could be used for education, it could be used for impact, purchases, incentives, real estate investments, and collaterals for the projects which we are implementing. The blockchain use for Building Passport, which is basically the data, the big data that we retract from every project, from the construction of every project from end to end, will be used for the smart contracts, the certifications, the building data, the reputation of all the players or all the companies and people involved in the process, and then for the land titles for each project. Now, this is just some of the data. The basic data which is available is open source from cities. Okay, I live in New York, and you can just go to the Department of Buildings and take all of this information from them. So this data can be processed and then used, stored some of it on the blockchain, the most essential, and later this data can be stored as a permanent record of what is actually happening in a building. And it becomes something really valuable whenever you transfer the ownership of a building, whenever you rent a building, or whenever you have to do any maintenance of the building. Maybe some of you who had to deal with buildings that you bought or rented, it becomes a process of archaeology. You just have to go and find yourself what is in there. Okay, so you have to cut the walls and everything to discover what's behind. So instead of that waste, if we have that data, everything will be accounted for and everything will be available. So the use of data could be also tracked in real time through sensors within the building, which would help us actually optimize the functionality of the building. the temperature, energy, air quality, CO2 emissions, access to the building, and humidity could be tracked, and we could discover hidden potential for these buildings to perform better. For example, how they can be used or how they can reduce energy consumption, which is a big factor in buildings. You may know that, for example, the city of New York has voted a law that they need to reduce by 80% their energy consumption by 2030, which is a big thing. How can this data be accessed? Okay, first of all, every building could have a QR code. So if you're passing by a building, the easiest thing would be to scan that building and pull out all the data and find out what's in there. Or it can be used with the NFC sensors with smart tags on the buildings and on all the materials that are incorporated in the buildings, and they are activated in the moment when they're installed in the project. It could also be accessed through a GPS. So basically, when you are next to the building, your phone finds out what this data is, or from your computer, you can just type the address of the building and find out about it. So the impact that we are looking at is, first of all, to uncover hidden potential of buildings. Okay, buildings and infrastructure are things that we all inhabit, but strangely enough, we know very little about them. We know very little about how they work, and there are so many ways to make them better. Better for the existing buildings and better for new buildings. We're also looking for smarter footings, particularly for development projects like the ones that we're doing in the Caribbean. We're looking at resource matching, value creation for owners and investors in the building. We want to empower local communities and global professionals to build better. So with this project, with BuildPass and BuildToken, we hope that we can really make a difference in the world and help create more sustainable cities. And together with you and with all the people who are passionate about living better and building better, we can create a better world. Thank you.
Yeah. Hello. Wow. Okay, Yvonne, I'm so impressed. Super organized presentation.
Thank you.
What stands out for you about this experience?
Well, for me, actually, it's been fascinating because my company, Build Academy, organizes hackathons and global challenges. Is a way to crowd solve problems in the built environment. So for me, the process of the hackathon has been fascinating to see it from the other side. In terms of blockchain, what fascinates me is to learn something new, which I didn't know much about a year ago, and to find out the impact that it can have on our industry and really on making a difference and creating more sustainable and resilient cities.
So I know that you weren't in the blockchain space before this. How do you feel about it now?
I'm so excited,
We converted
It's
him.
a thrill.
We converted
I'm thrilled
him.
to be in this space. I can't wait to do more and to launch our ICO and to build all those new products and companies that we have started.
Amazing. Thank you. So that we're going to wait and see if the judges have any questions.
We're just curious. Did you build anything? Do you have an app to see, or
Excuse me?
have you do an app or anything we can see?
We built a code which is on GitHub, and I believe that you have already accessed it.
Right.
So we were asked to put it on the GitHub, and that judges would have access to it. So basically, what we did is we actually launched the token yesterday. All right. So the token now is live, and we have distributed 100 tokens around. Okay, and we have created. Released million tokens so far. So, we did the entire process of actually launching the token on the Ethereum blockchain. And it will be used particularly for these smart contracts, actually tying actual work to the token and to the payments. And this token could be used also to paying people in the industry. As you may know, in these projects in construction, there are a lot of international workers that go from one country to another. And oftentimes they cannot be paid properly, or they cannot be paid at all, because there is no way to transfer or to pay a foreigner in an appropriate way. So we believe that the token will be, first of all, a way to track all the value chain and all the processes within the industry. And second, it would also empower all the professionals who are working on every single project.
Okay. What city are you focusing your beta on, and have you brought on municipal partnerships as well as beta users?
So currently we are working on a project in the Caribbean with the World Bank, which is for rebuilding homes, resilient homes. So we are in fact launching a competition for design competition for companies all over the world to participate, and we'll design these 3 prototypes for coastal areas affected by floods, inland areas affected by typhoons, and earthquakes, and high mountain areas that don't have access, that are affected by earthquakes and don't have easy access for materials to be brought up. So these are the 3 projects which will be applying the token and also build pass for it. And in terms of houses or smaller scale projects, for larger scale projects, we're working on a city on Chicago to build an entirely new neighborhood between IIT and the University of Chicago. So basically on all those new projects, we're thinking about this, which is a pretty big project. And the biggest one that we're working on is in South Africa, which is an entire city that wants to use our product and token for everything that they're building.
Thank you for that. What's the big thing that you've done this week that you hadn't done before?
To actually write a code on the blockchain.
And were there any sort of other breakthroughs in terms of the idea and concept? Or is it just execution?
Well, for me, I was surprised how simple it seems on the surface and how complex it is once you start getting deeper. So for me, actually, writing code on the Ethereum platform has been quite an adventure. And now to all those Bitcoin and Ethereum enthusiasts, I can actually tell them that I've written code. And many people claim to be experts on blockchain, but a few people have actually witnessed how it works and have done some work on it in the background. So this was fascinating. And I have to thank all the tech people on the other teams who were able to help us, and our mentors who came up to the mountain to teach us about blockchain.
I have a question. Your platform will benefit cities, councils, owners of buildings, etc. What strategy do you have for enabling inclusive economics of the citizens as well?
So we would like to incentivize, first of all, when you create transparency in the industry, a lot of things become much more efficient, okay? So there's so much speculation in the industry, and there are so many things that go under the table that putting it on the blockchain and creating transparent processes within the industry would reduce the cost of buildings first, all right? So people would be able to access affordable housing, okay? That's first thing. Second, it would make buildings safer, all right? So a lot of the buildings that we live in or that we visit are not built with the current code. So actually, if there is an earthquake or if there is something happen, those buildings become dangerous and could collapse. So creating that transparency and putting every certificate for the professionals, for the companies, and for the products that are used in a building, putting everything on the blockchain would actually guarantee so that everything in the built environment is built properly and it's safe and it's resilient.
Hi, this is Frank from ClimateCoin. I arrived late, sorry for the judges. So my question is, you are launching an ICO?
Yes.
How many tokens are you planning to launch, and how do you have a hard cap already thought or not?
Well, we are in the very early stage, so we are not ready to disclose the details yet. I'm not sure about the hard cap. No. Some people suggest 100 million, other people suggest 10 million, so I'm not sure where we would go. I would need to get some more guidance from our advisors, and Melinda is talking about actually launching an accelerator, a 3-month accelerator for blockchain companies, so maybe that would be an opportunity for us to get more details about the specifics of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's one thing I'll say is our intention with this, and we got a yes from every Slovenian team that presented this morning, is to have all of these projects run into a virtual hack. It'll go over a period of time, so we can really mentor and support, and just support the people that have shown up with the first one, and open it up to the public as well. So can we give everyone a round of applause?
Thank you.
I know we have a tough act to follow. He did a great job.